In its early years, Netflix was just a DVD rental service that was busy taking down competitors of the 90s like Blockbuster, but after taking a gamble with their very own streaming service in 2007, their success shot through the roof. In the roughly 2 decades since, Netflix has become a household name that's basically synonymous with television, and it continues to define the era of streaming services that we know today. While Netflix's rise to dominance can be attributed to plenty of factors, there's one crucial truth here. Audiences will continue to come back for more if the entertainment is, well, entertaining.
Into the mouth. Nice.
Luckily, since the early 2010s, Netflix, along with some very talented creative directors, writers, and actors, have produced some incredibly high-quality original shows that, over time, have held our attention and kept our subscriptions renewed. So today, we're looking at 10 essential Netflix originals that define the service as it grew, taking chances, trying new things, and striking entertainment gold along the way. For this video, we're not counting documentaries and reality shows and stuff like that, only the fictional Netflix original series that kept the world entranced, driving the bus of pop culture as we eagerly awaited the next season. Listed in chronological order by premiere date, let's start from the beginning and work our way to the present as we check out the 10 Netflix original shows that defined the entertainment giant and shaped the streaming era of today. Number 1. House of Cards. In 2013, Netflix came out of the gate swinging with House of Cards, an intense political thriller based on the novel by Michael Dobbs. This was the very first show produced exclusively for Netflix, and a lot was riding on its success. At the time, political thrillers like Homeland and The Newsroom had already had audiences intrigued, and Netflix simply needed to capitalize on it. And as fate would have it, House of Cards was a hit, and for good reason. Though the original novel saw its drama playing out in the politics of the United Kingdom, Netflix's House of Cards adapted the story for its US audience, following the reprehensible, morally bankrupt politician Frank Underwood. Along with his wife Claire, Frank uses every dirty trick in the book to shift power in his direction, leading to plenty of shocking twists.
I don't care how much it hurts. I don't care how controversial it is. Your job is to find a way.
Plot aside, the show looked great. It was shot with artistic intent and was a clear step above its peers at the time. Before now, Netflix offered good shows, but with House of Cards, they started to prove that they could produce content of equal quality, if not better, than standard cable TV.
One heartbeat away from the presidency, not a single vote cast in my name. Democracy is so overrated.
Number 2, BoJack Horseman. Where do we even start with BoJack Horseman? This animated series debuted on Netflix in 2014, and just 4 days after the first season aired, it was immediately renewed. Centered around a cast of anthropomorphic celebrities living in Hollywood, or Hollywoo, this sitcom-style comedy is quirky, hilarious, controversial, and soul-crushingly depressing.
Today sucks. The story of my life is that I never get anything nice. You'd think that I'd learn to adjust my expectations by now.
On paper, BoJack doesn't really sound like it would work, but against all odds, it cemented its reputation as one of the best adult animated shows ever created, let alone by Netflix. The show follows the title character BoJack Horseman. He's a has-been sitcom actor who mostly drinks away all of his money while pining the glory days of his career, all while hanging out in an extremely expensive mansion with his housemate, Todd. Up front, BoJack is a pretty unlikable character. He's constantly refusing to accept responsibility for his terrible behavior, treating everyone, including his friends, like hot garbage, and just generally being an obnoxious fool. Sure, his antics often lead to some hilarious scenarios, but the show BoJack Horseman isn't featured here because it's funny, it's because it's a masterclass in character development, unbelievably good writing, and how you can make an audience root for even the most irredeemable protagonists, provided the story suits it. Throw in some top-tier voice talent from the likes of Will Arnett, Aaron Paul, Allison Brie, and more, and you've got yourself a true diamond of animated television.
Do people not like me?
What were we talking about?
Number 3, Daredevil. By 2015, the superhero hype train had long left the station, and it was barreling through pop culture like the Incredible Hulk in a china shop. The Marvel Cinematic Universe was well into Phase 2 with movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers Age of Ultron, and everyone wanted a piece of the pie. So, teaming up with Marvel Studios for a batch of original shows, Netflix made a major push for their slice of the Marvel madness, and in the process, created one of the best superhero shows to ever grace TV screens. As an adaptation of the comic, Daredevil sticks pretty close to the established story, and it centers around the blind lawyer Matt Murdock, who lives out of Hell's Kitchen, New York. Though above the law by day, Matt moonlights as the masked vigilante Daredevil, who uses his heightened senses to exact some extracurricular justice under moonlight. This catches the attention of the big-time crime boss Kingpin, and things play out kind of exactly like you'd expect. It's also well worth mentioning that Daredevil was a violent show, unafraid to pull its punches for the sake of a younger audience, and in many instances, it went further with its bloody violence than any mainline Marvel movie before it. Keep in mind, this premiered a full year before Deadpool hit theaters, and it was a treat for comic fans tired of all the watered-down combat or dumbed-down plots. In short, Daredevil was a very good superhero show that matched the energy of Prime MCU, but it was available in the comfort of your own home thanks to Netflix, long before Disney Plus overloaded our feeds with dozens of unneeded spin-offs.
Well, then, in front of this God, I'd rather die as the devil and live as Matt Murdock.
Number 4. Narcos. Netflix loves producing true crime docu-series, but before those became a dime a dozen, one particular story of crime, betrayal, and suspense had us gripping our seats like no other. Set in Colombia circa 1989, Narcos presented a dramatized tale of the larger-than-life drug lord Pablo Escobar. The opening text at the beginning of the show implies a story that's too strange to believe, and in almost every way, Narcos delivers, and then some. Pablo Escobar's rise to power is a wild story, and even if you know the major beats when you're going in, Narcos does a perfect job of immersing the viewer inside of its narrative. In the same way that Breaking Bad took the terrible world of meth dealing and made that somehow entertaining, Narcos does the same exact thing with the cocaine business of Colombia. From the jump, we witness the story from the perspective of DEA agent Steve Murphy, who both informs the audience while also serving as an ideal avatar for the unfolding action. The cast is further spiced up by Steve's partner Javier, who's played by Pedro Pascal, fresh off his breakout role from Game of Thrones. Still, nothing quite beats Wagner Moura's turn as the big bad himself, Pablo Escobar, oozing intimidation, intensity, and charisma in equal measure. As acclaim for Narcos flew in, Netflix showed that they weren't just a trend-following one-trick pony. Instead, they were gunning for the seat of prestige TV, staring right in the face of HBO and others, ready to take on the challenge. Number 5. Stranger Things. Well, it's basically impossible to talk about Netflix original shows without bringing up Stranger Things, so I guess let's just bring up Stranger Things, huh? When the show first premiered in 2016, it gave viewers an enthralling mystery. It was ripe with inspiration from 80s classic cinema and spooky Stephen King vibes. But flash forward a few seasons, and it's grown into a bona fide sci-fi classic, consistently setting new viewership records and commanding pop culture whenever it airs. Stranger Things is an exciting sci-fi series not just due to its whimsically dark plot, memorable cast of characters, and eerie, evocative tone, but just how much the world has evolved over time. What started off as a simple by comparison coming-of-age story about a group of geeky suburban kids has grown into a sprawling supernatural conspiracy, with each season having a distinct flavor. Season 1 set the bar, and Season 2 expanded the world and amped up the stakes. Season 3 added some whimsy and Americana to the mix, and then Season 4 brought things back around to its horror roots in a big way.
Would you like to join them?
Stranger Things didn't just establish Netflix as a major player, it also propelled the careers of almost every single member of its cast, becoming a generation and genre-defining series at the same time. As of right now, Season 5 is yet to air, so time will tell if they stick the landing, but one thing's for certain: Stranger Things continues to play a huge role in Netflix's success and relevance, even close to a decade after the first episode aired. Number 6. Black Mirror. This one's like a kind of weird exception because while Black Mirror has become one of Netflix's landmark shows, it wasn't an exclusive at first. While the first 2 seasons and one special episode originally aired on British television in the early 2010s, Netflix picked up the show in a bidding war against several other companies and began producing it themselves, starting with Season 3 in 2016. In terms of continuity or stylistic changes, this switch-up wasn't a huge concern, considering that Black Mirror is a sci-fi anthology with a different cast and story for each episode, but Netflix found another big win with this somewhat risky play. With Netflix in charge, Black Mirror didn't just live on, it thrived. Sure, the early seasons had some memorable episodes, but occasionally for the worse. Season 1, Episode 1, anyone remember that one? But the show did find its stride in Season 3 and beyond. Not only was the sci-fi good, but it was poignant and it was infectious. pushing the audience to question the reality around them and the future that lay ahead with relatable tales of caution and curiosity. For example, there's the episode Nosedive, which shows us a world where our worth and our wealth is entirely dependent on social media clout. Sound familiar? Or the episode USS Callister, which paints the horrifying potential of artificial reality coupled with nostalgic escapism. Look, it's not like every episode is going to blow your mind or change your perspective on our technology, but the fact that several episodes hold that potential speaks volumes to the effectiveness of Black Mirror's storytelling and its vision. Most importantly though, by picking up Black Mirror and letting the creators lean into what made it so special, Netflix saved one of the best anthologies ever made, showing that they valued creative ideas that other networks would have rather just put on the chopping block. Number 7. Money Heist. Just like our last show, Money Heist didn't get its start on Netflix, but it definitely found a much bigger audience once it arrived on the service in 2017. Originally broadcast on Spanish networks as La Casa de Papel, or The House of Paper, Netflix picked up the show and slightly restructured it, airing the 2 seasons of older episodes to a global audience while dumping a bigger budget into the next 2 seasons. It didn't take long for Money Heist to pick up steam either, and after audiences started tuning in, the show made a radical change to Netflix that is still felt to this day.
Señorita Tokio.
¿Qué vamos a robar?
La Fábrica Nacional de Moneda y Timbre.
To be blunt, Money Heist is a pretty plain name for such a stellar show, as this is an incredibly gripping story of high-dollar crime that constantly keeps the viewer guessing. There's schemes upon schemes awaiting as the show tracks criminal mastermind The Professor as he and his crew pull off unbelievably complex and witty heists with the audience along for the ride in real time. In Money Heist, the only thing you can expect is the unexpected, as corny as that sounds, but it is true. It's a wildly entertaining show that gets better and better with each passing season, subverting your expectations with countless twists and reveals that reward your investment and respect your time. The show had plenty of fans beforehand, but once it was available around the world thanks to Netflix, it became an absolute powerhouse, racking up international Emmy Awards year after year and hundreds of millions of views, often outpacing most other shows on the platform. Money Heist was a key proponent in Netflix's jump from the Western market to worldwide. Number 8. The Haunting of Hill House. It might seem like we've skimped on horror shows, but to be fair, Netflix really didn't start pumping out the scares until 2018 with this dark, ghostly tale of familial grief. Very loosely based on the iconic horror novel and directed by Mike Flanagan, The Haunting of Hill House follows the gleeful Crane family, who move into their new home, but blissfully unaware that they're entering a supernatural world of torment and terror. Jumping back and forth through time, we witness countless moments of true horror, leading to an estranged family that's ripped apart by a broken home of otherworldly influence. It's here, in this grounded story of family and mutual trauma, where The Haunting of Hill House finds its footing, and it never lets up. Where other horror shows simply jolt you with jump scares, Hill House works its way under your skin with unforgettable imagery and bone-chilling moments of actual fear, the kind of mind-worm disturbance that refuses to leave your brain long, long after viewing. It's bleak as hell, but sometimes that's what a good horror story needs, and this show is never afraid of getting dark when the time comes. And wouldn't you know it, audiences and critics agreed, with The Haunting of Hill House quickly joining the discussion of all-time great ghost stories, thus starting a prolific partnership between Netflix and Mike Flanagan, who have continued to create even more great horror classics. In the years since, Netflix has shown a greater interest in the horror genre, though mostly in the form of original films and short film collections, but The Haunting of Hill House is what summoned the spirit, if you will. Number 9. Squid Game. I would say that Money Heist walked so Squid Game could run, but both of those shows erupted with popularity so quickly that it would be a disservice to compare them. However, like Money Heist, Squid Game stands with immense pride as one of the non-English shows that broke through the language barrier and beyond, becoming one of, if not the most popular television shows across the entire world. Set in present-day South Korea, Squid Game offers a somewhat familiar concept for a thriller. A set of contestants are pitted against each other in exciting challenges for a large sum of money, but with a deadly twist. It's something we've seen before, but Squid Game brought a grounded honesty to the outlandish premise, mostly thanks to great characters like the protagonist Seong Gi-hoon, a down-on-his-luck average guy who joins up in the deadly Squid Game as a last-ditch effort to erase his crippling financial debt. Perhaps it was the unyielding brutality of the plot, where no character ever felt safe, the artistic juxtaposition of playing children's games with life-or-death stakes, or the social commentary on wealth distribution that tied audiences to the show, but beyond just being a very, very, very good and binge-worthy show, Squid Game was something special. By this point, Netflix had been leading the charge in the streaming world by a hefty margin, but after Squid Game, the floodgates were open, and business was booming. Number 10, Wednesday. And here we arrive in the present. Well, mostly, as the first season of Wednesday was released in 2022. A spin-off of the iconic Creepy and Kooky Family, this comedy, mystery, coming-of-age horror fusion was directed in part by Tim Burton, who has struggled to get an Addams Family project off the ground since the early 90s. As the title would imply, while the rest of the Addams Family do get a bit of time in the spotlight, this is the misfit daughter Wednesday's big show.
I think I'm going to love it here.
Accompanied by her signature dark sense of humor, antisocial sensibilities, and supernatural proclivity. Whether you're a fan of the Addams Family or not, Wednesday is a solid mystery show that's further elevated by a career-making performance from Jenna Ortega in the lead role. Most importantly, though, this show resonated deeply with audiences across the board, both old Addams Family fans and new ones from younger generations, and the stats simply don't lie. As of summer 2025, Wednesday is the most watched English show on Netflix. It's double of Stranger Things Season 4 for comparison. At its most fundamental level, the success of Wednesday Season 1 is a perfect representation of what Netflix has built over the last few decades, where each flagship show reaches higher viewership than the last, with millions upon millions of people tuning in. As far as the next decade is concerned, really, who knows? But for the time being, Netflix remains unstoppable in its field, and it wouldn't have been possible without these pivotal shows. And that wraps up our list of the 10 Netflix original shows that built the streaming empire. So, what's your guys' take? To be honest, this final list was really tough for us to make, and while we used a variety of sources to qualify their inclusion, some of my personal favorite shows still got left out, things like Mindhunter, Arcane, Queen's Gambit, and quite a few more come to mind, but maybe that's a discussion for another video in the future. So be sure to leave your comment with your picks for the best Netflix originals and what you thought of our video. But either way, every show on this list is worth the binge, so hopefully you've come away with some new stuff to check out. If you watched this far, thanks so much for checking out our video and for sticking around until the end. If you enjoyed the video, please drop us a like or share the video with a friend. And if you want to check out more of our stuff in the future, don't forget to subscribe. You can also support our channel via YouTube memberships, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee, and unlock some extra bonuses for your contribution. We'll be back soon with another recap or another video on your favorite entertainment, but for now, BingeBot is logging off.